can do better than that. I said, hello! I'm Olivia Fahy. I'm the editor of Geek Ireland, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all here to Dublin Comic Con today at the main stage for a very, very special Starship Troopers panel. Are you ready to meet the cast? I said, are you ready to meet the cast? Please welcome to the stage Casper Van Dien, Dina Mayer. Of course, I cough just as I'm doing that. Denise Richards and Michael Ironside. Welcome. I'm going here, so we're going to have some people. Sorry. So Michael's in the chair, I think.
Monkey in the middle.
Is this thing on? Hey, hi everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So how are you all doing? Good to see you.
We're doing good. We're doing good. Thank you.
So as usual in Ireland, we always have to ask this question first. Who has been here before and who is it their first time?
First time.
First time.
First time.
Enjoying
First
it so
time.
far?
So far, so good. Yeah.
Same for yourself,
Absolutely.
Denise?
Love it.
All the greenery. Hopefully the weather picks up a bit now because it's nice today, but hopefully it stays that way for the rest of the
They
week.
tell me this is summer in Ireland. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, you poor buggers.
We always say it's like, oh yeah, our summer was that first week of June is usually what happens here. And of course, Casper, I know you've been here before.
Yes, I have. My wife and I got engaged down in Kerry.
You did
Your first
indeed.
wife.
Kerry.
I've been to Ireland before. I thought you meant this.
Oh.
Comic Con.
So you have been to our to the
Yes,
country
I love
before.
Ireland. Yes, many times. I thought you meant this physical place.
So, of course, Starship Troopers, it is just such an iconic film. I think we can all agree on that here. And you all get to meet up sometimes at conventions, but am I right in thinking this is the first time all four of you have been together for a little while?
I haven't seen Denise since the press tour right after the film. That was the last time I saw you.
Yeah, 100 years ago.
Casper, I can't get if he's always around. And you and I think, last year was the first time we'd seen each other in years, wasn't it?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, actually, it was the first time.
Yeah.
You and me, a couple of months ago, I think.
It was a good cast. A lot of fun.
And it really, really seemed it. But one of my favorite stories that I've heard through the grapevine, Michael, is how Paul convinced you to join the cast. Is it true that he had a very, how shall I put it, a blunt kind of political statement that he gave you?
Paul and I had worked together before we did Total Recall. And when he came to doing Starship Troopers, the author of Starship Troopers, it's a long story. Do you really want to have this fucking long story?
We've got time.
Look at science fiction was not thought of as a legitimate literacy, in books. And back in the 40s, they had a club called the Sci-Fi Club. Science Fiction Magazine was in. Have you ever heard of Science Fiction Magazine? It was originally an inter-club newsletter, and there was about 100 of them. And Aleister Crowley, for example, was one of them. My grandfather, Finlay Ironside, he was a member of it too. And I read Starship Troopers out of a shoebox, I read that, I read Dune, they would send them to my grandfather and say things like, Jock, can you see if you can find any bugaboos in this? Because he was an engineer in a mechanical and electrical engineer, so they would send it to him and see if he could find any technicals. So Frank Herbert sent a mimeographed copy of the script. I think my sister's got it now. I had it for years. And Starship Troopers was one of them. It was, but with Paul, when Paul said he wanted to do it, I said, Paul, the author, how do I put this? He liked drag. He liked the drag. Nothing wrong with being in drag, but he had a way of sort of like shitting on homosexuality and stuff like that. But he would write in drag, and he was a super right-wing person, very, very heavy right-wing. He believed if you weren't willing to kill for your country, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. And being raised New Democratic in our family, Labor, I thought that was a lot of bullshit. So I went to Paul and I said, knowing Paul was a war rat. In the Netherlands, when he was a kid, part of the games would find old 88 shells, put their foot on them and hit them with a hammer, and watch these tank shells go skipping off across. So Paul had a fairly rough upbringing after the Second World War. So I said to him, why are you doing this very right-wing, very Nazi-ish kind of film? He said, well, you question me? And I said, look, it's just once. I'd like to know. And we'd already done film together. He says, yes, you're right. He says, I'm going to make a perfect world where everyone's beautiful and they're young and they're gorgeous. He says, and nothing's wrong. He says, except all of it's only good for killing bugs. And I went, all right, I'm in. No, but it's quite, the original novel was really a heavy, heavy right-wing manifesto. The book he wrote after that was The Citizen's Handbook. If you ever get a chance to look that up, it's a real piece of shite, you know.
Oh, I guess I always love that. It's just like, oh, I'm in. Great.
That went on for a while. Sorry about that.
That's all good. And Denise, up until you starred in Starship Troopers, like, am I right in saying that this was like your first big action movie? So for yourself, how was it when you stepped onto the set for the first time?
It was my first movie in a movie theater. So it was amazing. It was daunting. It was intimidating. It was exciting to be part of this huge, big budget movie. All of us, except for you and Clancy, were primarily, but you had come off of a big movie, unknown. So it was just such a fun experience.
Yeah, and it always looked like there was such great camaraderie, especially amongst yourselves, and that has kind of translated into your personal lives as well. Because Casper, am I right in saying that you've kept in touch with a lot of the cast members and had some of them in like wedding parties and things like that?
Yeah, Pat Muldoon, who's friends with everybody, he was in my wedding party, and so was a stunt guy. Garrett who was on there. He was in my wedding party, and Ed Newmeyer were in my wedding party. Just six years ago. So yeah, I've kept a lot, and we see each other all the time. We haven't seen each other since Malibu, but Michael I've seen a long time. We worked out together. A lot of us worked out together. Then they all signed up for a boot camp. The Roughnecks were supposed to do a boot camp beforehand, but she even came to she wanted to be a part of it, so she participated in that. So we had this camaraderie that was definitely there because we just. They asked us if we wanted to do it, and we did it. And we had so much fun just running around together, but with Captain Dale Dye.
And Dina,
How many years ago was it? How many years?
28 years ago.
28 years ago.
28.
Paul was very good at casting. If you look at the film, the innocence in these three is amazing. Paul cast them for that kind of wide-eyed, open, absolutely bright, intellectual, lovingly innocence that they had, you know. I don't know if it's still there.
Oh, I
But
think
it's-
that went away a long time ago.
But no, it was really well cast.
I think the film pretty much took that out of us. So
because because there was so much action in it that it must have been very intense to shoot at times. And Dina, am I right in saying that you actually got a concussion while you were shooting?
I did, pulling him out of the pit. I did. It was funny. We all. I think Michael also had a little something that happened when we were in that vermiculite pit.
Or were you talking about shooting me in the face?
Yeah. Well, yeah, shooting in the face. Yeah, there was that. But yeah, when we were pulling Michael out, we were in this. It was like sand. It was hard to get your footing, and we're pulling Michael out, and he has no legs. I mean, he does, but not in the film. And we pulled him out, and I pulled him out so hard that I wound up hitting my head on the ground, which was, because we were in this hole, basically, the sandy hole. So when I pulled him out, I kind of like flung myself back and smacked really hard and smacked my head. I was wearing a helmet, though, wasn't I? I was wearing
the helmet doesn't work.
It doesn't really work, but it was a barrier. I didn't, at least, it was just a bang. Anyway, I got a slight concussion. Had to be observed by a nurse for 24 hours to make sure I didn't die.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The dedication, you guys.
To explain that statement of mine, during one of the shoot scenes in the fort, we were shooting bugs. The bugs aren't really there. They were imaginary. We had 3 mechanical bugs, and when we were shooting at them, we had these silhouettes out on it was actually, the special effects were done by satellite telemetry. They had literally were writing this software. They didn't know whether it was going to work or not while we were shooting the film. So we're literally firing at these silhouettes, cutouts, but to explain what happened is we were firing, and Denny's stepped forward. And as she did, she turned around. I went the other way, and it raked me right across the face. And I got 3 days off for that. got my fist, all my lips got blistered. Those machine guns we
Yeah,
had.
I think we got an insurance day from my
It was
accident.
there were M16s that had the stocks cut off them. The firing mechanism was inside those outlandishly sci-fi looking things, and there were full loads in it. They were because Paul wanted very large flames coming up. The budget on the ammunition was $1.8 million, I heard. It was,
We're in the Guinness Book of Records for firing the most amount of ammo in a film, and still, I was just told by somebody that we still were. I knew at the time we were. We broke. I think we made that record within. We shot for 6.5 months straight, and we made it in 2.5 months. We broke the record.
yeah, it's either
We
$1.6
kept
million
shooting.
or $1.8 million
We kept shooting.
was spent just on the ammunition.
That is absolutely wild. And there are a couple of like explosions and things like that. And am I right in saying that as you're escaping from, it's pretty much nearly like the final scene for yourselves and Jake Busey, am I right in saying that that was like the last shot that you did, and it was kind of like we have one shot at this?
Yeah, I'll never forget the three of us, Casper, myself, and Jake. Paul said, just do not fall while you're running because the fire is coming up behind you. But we all made a pact that if one of us falls, we're going to help the other one up and not leave you behind and start on fire. So we were scared shitless, but we did it and we got through.
And we felt the flame as
You
it came
felt it,
as it came up over us. We did feel the flame. We felt all of it. It was, because we're in a tunnel, so it's just a vacuum. And they had this big wall come down, the rocks come down, but it was a wall, and with all these little foam rocks and everything. So what it did was it pushed the flames forward more. So they knew what was going to happen, but we felt the flame as we were going. But we were in, you didn't have a helmet on, did you, at that point? No. Yeah, I did. But we tried to be like right next
were
to her.
helping me.
And we
They
tried
were
to be
great.
right, so we could cover her a little bit because she didn't have that. And we're like, don't use hairspray today. Do not use hairspray today.
Good tip, good tip. And, Johnny Rico, he's pretty much like in your blood nowadays, and you've even been a part of the new video game that's coming out soon. So what can you tease about the new Starship Troopers game?
Well, I'm hoping I can get all of them in it one way or another. I would love that. I would love to have everybody in it in one way. It's like being in the movie. When I first saw the movie, I said, we should make this a video game. Like, we make movies, not video games. And I was like, I just thought it would be a cool video game. And it's like being in the movie. It's incredible. I love playing it. And these people are big fans of it. They went out before they made it. They all got the entire group of them, 122 people. They bought T-shirts, went to the movie, rented it out, and watched the movie before they started working on the game. It's incredible. They're really thoughtful, and they have all these ideas. They have the rights for 10 years. It's with Sony and everything too. So I'm hoping we'll see more of it. But it comes out October 11th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and console. Right now it's out on PC. You can Steam it. I do, as General J. Rico.
Fun. And we actually got our first look at him recently at Gamescom. I think they announced what he looks like. So do we know how he lost his eye?
Oh yeah, that was in the 5th movie. So they had that. So they
Just
just
continued it on from it.
Just they took all 5 movies and they put it in. And the things that they missed in the other movies because of budget constraints, everyone's like, it's not like Starship Troopers, of course, because we weren't going to put that kind of money in it again. They were able to fix it in the video game, and I think that's awesome. So they really love it. They're huge fans, and they're like so excited to see even me with all you guys. They're just nerds, and it's so cool. I love it so much.
I love that. And like outside of Starship Troopers, you've all gone on to have like absolutely massive careers. And Denise, Halle Berry was recently talking about working with Pierce Brosnan on Die Another Day. And she was saying how he was like an absolute gentleman and things like that. So did you have a similar experience working with him?
Oh, yeah. Pierce is a class act. He was so fun, so funny. I will say, and I don't think he'll be upset that I'm saying this, he's very clumsy. So, which is actually even more endearing to see him play Bond and see that in real life he's kind of clumsy and stuff. So, but he obviously pulls it off on camera, but he's lovely.
He does. And I always love the story of how I think it was with Famke Janssen that during one of their fight scenes, he accidentally broke one of her ribs, but she wouldn't tell him because she knew how bad he would feel. So he only found out during the press tour. The poor guy. And You know, Dina, I think my friends and family would probably disown me if I didn't ask you about working on Friends, because Friends was such a big show, I know, around the world, but especially here in Ireland. Like, who else used to watch it on the Monday night on RT2? Like, it was like an iconic staple in our household. So what was it like being amongst the cast and working on the set? Because I'd say, like, looking back now, you're like, wow, that was wild.
I mean, it was very surreal. I think the thing about Friends, I mean, first of all, it was such, and still is to this day, such a successful sitcom. The cast, all great. At the time, I remember feeling a little insecure because I'm more of a film. I did some TV, but but we filmed the TV. I mean, when you work on Friends, when you work on a sitcom, it's a half hour that you shoot once a week. You rehearse all week. You have your read-throughs, you do your rehearsals, but then you're in front of a live audience. So you can't just say, "Wait, let's go again," or I'll take it. You have a lot of people watching, so there's a little bit more. Did you find, Denise? You did also.
I was so scared
right.
working on that show.
Yeah, right. It's a little.
I was so nervous.
It's daunting because you actually have a live audience watching you perform, and you're performing with the cast of Friends on this hugely successful show. So you're kind of like, you better not mess up because it's going to be really embarrassing. So you have that pressure, and then of course you do mess up, and you're like, shit. But anyway, it was a great experience. I had I had a nice little arc. Yeah. Kate Miller, for those of you that watched, she was like the very snooty actress that didn't want to do a soap and then like goes off and does a soup, or something like that. But yeah, it was a great experience. And Matt LeBlanc is super. I knew him before the show, so he made things a little bit easier for me. But it's scary, but fun and awesome, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, and Denise, because you were one of the Geller cousins, weren't you?
Yes, I played Monica, her cousin, and her brother's cousin too. And there was a weird scene with him, so that was funny. But no, like what Dina's saying, it was. I was terrified, and I'll never forget rehearsing with them. Yeah. They're a well-oiled machine. We would do one thing, they'd walk through. I'm like, wait, I don't even know what everyone's doing, and they're on to the next scene, and then it's. But it was just to be part of such an iconic show. I'm so excited to be part of it. Yeah.
And Michael, for yourself, you touched on it there earlier, but Total Recall, I think, has gone down in history as one of the, in the top 10, if not in, the top spot for sci-fi movies. So for you,
fuck that, no. I think Scanners is a much more iconic film because it was done with no money and at a very I think 1979, 1980,
I would also agree with you on that.
It's a good film. It's a good film, but it's, there's lots of others out there. When are we going to get questions from the crew, the cast, the audience here?
I have one more question for Casper, and then I'm going to open it up to the floor.
Sorry.
It's all good. Casper, for you, Sleepy Hollow. It is one of those films that I always put on around October time because it's just such a classic. And actually, Tim Burton is filming in Ireland at the moment with Wednesday. So a lot of Irish people are now kind of learning what it's like to work with him. So what kind of tips would you have for anybody who's going to be extraing on Wednesday?
Yes, tips. We'd like some tips in case we work with them.
Tim Burton was he's really funny and he's really kind. He never yells. He's just very thorough. But when I worked with him, they worked a 12-hour day, and that was it. So you were done on as soon as, no matter what you were doing in the middle of a scene, we just come back the next day. He was very casual. If something happened, he'd be like, "Okay, well, are you going to be able to fix that today?" And you're like, "No." "Okay, well, we'll see you tomorrow." That's my experience with him. He knew what he was doing. He was so prepared, like Verhoeven was. So he's just an amazing man. But it was really funny, and just it was a lot of fun to do it. I got to ride the horse in that movie, and I had which was the original Black Beauty from the TV series. It was 18 hands. I'm not a thoroughbred guy. I'm a quarter horse, but I got to ride that horse. It was really powerful. And I heard in the commentary that he said that thank God Casper could ride a horse. Because I just did another Western, and somebody goes, "Hey, I listened to it, and he said this, so you can still ride." I'm like, "Yeah, I can still ride. I love horses."
Amazing. Well, look, I think it's time to set up to the floor. So would you like to learn more?
Would you like to know more? I see what you did there.
I couldn't resist. Right, so we have some microphones up over here. So if you want to queue up, and then we'll start like dotting around to them. But while people
You can ask us anything.
while people are getting up to the microphones, there was a question that I was
You got to go to
asked.
the microphone. Okay.
Michael, is there any directors you would love to work with who you haven't yet worked with?
You know, most of them are dead now. I'm 74 years old. I've been around for a while. No, look, I really like working with first-time writers and directors. I really do. It's no, I'm just looking for. I've got there's about 5 of them in the pipeline, and 4 of them are first-time writers and directors, and I love working with them. You know, and no, there's nobody out there. I wanted to work with. No, I don't want to mention any names. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just uncomfortable to do that. Fuck, I've done 370 films. I'm a bit of a whore, aren't I? No, don't clap to that. I came home. My father was. I'm working class from the East End of Toronto, and my father, when I went to art college and when I was 19, and he said, you know, how are you going to make a living at that? So he made me take an engineering course up at University of Toronto. He never understood the arts. He never understood any of the arts. And when I had about 30 films under my belt, we bought him a TV. He lived up in the country outside of Toronto. And I sent him a bunch of films on videotape, and he watched them, right? So I hadn't seen him for about 2 or 3 years. And I went up and I said, so what do you think, Dad? And he said, and he was standing there, he says, you're a bit of a whore, aren't you? And I said, what? He said, no, I mean, like, doesn't mean you're bad in bed, you know? And I went, Dad? And my brother leaned over and he said, Michael, he's trying to give you a compliment. And I went, yeah, I guess you're right, Dad, you know? And he said, oh, good. And he went back to his newspaper. But I am a bit of a whore, you know? I've always known I'd never be a leading man. I'd always be the supporting. I'd be like, you know, there's the steak. I'm the potatoes and the asparagus, you know? I'm the garnish. And I just love working. I'd rather work than sit on my hands at home. Because when an actor's off set, I think, oh, you know, can sign this. We're just normal people, and that's fucking boring, you know? It's better to be out there and creating something out of nothing. So that's a long answer, but.
Thank you very much. So what we'll do is we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to start over here.
Cool, thanks. My first Bond girl is sitting on the stage, so I'm absolutely starstruck. Denise, hello, how are you? I'll ask a Starship Troopers question, though. With streaming now, do you think there a whole new generation of people discovering your movie?
Definitely, even though my kids still haven't seen it. That's what I think has been so great. I don't think any one of us thought that we'd be here today having people still enjoy it and the fans, and it's something that I think that all of us are really proud of, and I am, and it's really interesting to see different generations that find the movie and still enjoy it. And in some ways it was a little before its time, and I think that the younger generation is catching up before we even all did, you know, at times. So I think it's wonderful to be part of something that many people can still enjoy watching.
And we will watch it over and over again, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question over here.
For Dina Meyer, on the set of Saw, what was your favorite movie to shoot out of the few you featured in?
I'm sorry, on the set of Saw,
Sorry.
what was the what?
On the set of Saw, what was your favorite movie to shoot out of the few you featured in?
I don't know.
What was your favorite?
What was the?
What was your favorite scene to shoot on any of the Saw movies that you were in?
On any of the Saw? To go through them. Okay, I have to think. There's the one that had the 2 scenes in one, and then I did all the stuff with Donnie. I enjoyed working with Donnie, for sure. The angel trap scene, that's the most, you know, the craziest scene, for sure. But it wasn't the most fun to shoot, because when you're being tortured, when you're in pain, It's a lengthy shoot, and it involves prosthetics and special effects and mechanical stuff, and standing and or hanging or being suspended by a bicycle seat in your hoo-ha, to look like you're hanging. I mean, it's uncomfortable. It looks amazing. I mean, like the final product is awesome, and I think it is one of the best, or I've been told it's one of like the best traps.
Were you ever scared shooting?
Was I ever scared?
Shooting the angel trap scene.
Was I scared to shoot it?
Yeah, like acting it out.
No, I wasn't scared to shoot it. It just requires a lot of intensity, a lot of emotion, to have that, I'm going to die, my ribs are about to be ripped open. I don't want them to be, I got to get out of this. I mean, so it's like, as an actor, I think, when you start getting this like headache and you're just, everything is like all clenched and veins are popping out. It's staying like that in that mindset for an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours. It's challenging, but the final result is it's worth it, I think. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to go down the back here. Oh, hi.
You could be any other character in Starship Troopers.
So if you could be any other character in Starship Troopers, who would it be?
Who said that? Where are you? Oh, there you are. I'd be Denise.
Uh-oh.
I chose the one I wanted to be the most. I don't even think there's one I could see myself playing other than no, I can't. I'd go for Diz.
I did not want to play your part because I did not want to take my top off.
I didn't want to.
You
But I
still
felt like
did.
it was kind of necessary to show that soldiers were kind of, there's this equality thing, and we were soldiers, and it really didn't matter what was going on upstairs. It wasn't about the sex in the
But
in
that
the
was
film.
that whole political thing Paul wanted, which is that
Right.
one for all and all for one.
Exactly.
And that-
We had to be completely it doesn't even matter, because in the future we don't give a shit. We're soldiers and we're fighting, and that's it. So I felt it was necessary. I didn't think it was gratuitous, although, I was like, do I really have to? Well, yeah, anyway. But I didn't want to be your character because I wanted to shoot bugs more.
I feel so lucky being Johnny Rico and having this for so long.
The triangle.
Yes.
The peak of our
Yes,
triangle.
me in this triangle. So no, would I have wanted anything else? I would have been crazy too. So I love being this, and I love
The luckiest guy in
playing it.
space.
Yeah. I think everybody, all the other guys read for this role too, and they picked it. Like Seth Gilliam read for this role, and I think a lot of them were reading, and they were just going to decide what they wanted. But Paul had a strict vision that Michael clarified earlier, and that's what he wanted to go with.
Thank you. So we're going, is there someone over
It's a
here?
good question.
Very good question.
Nope, there actually isn't someone there, so we're going here.
Hello. What's everyone's opinions on bugs?
Kill them all.
Yum,
Is
yum,
it
yum.
Kind of a neutral or a positive? Or,
What the fuck question is that?
Well, yeah, it's in theme for the movie.
Are you
you
being
know.
specific, like bed bugs? You been to France lately?
I don't know.
The only good bug is a dead bug.
I'm with him.
Exactly.
I rescue them and put them outside.
Me too. I do too. I do too.
I just say, babe, come here, get this.
My kids
Handle
go.
it.
They go, Dad, bug.
Yeah, that's.
Paul wanted it to be symbols of the method. It's kind of a general kind of enemies of the state attitude that right wings have and stuff. For Nazis, it'd be Jews and gypsies and stuff like that, immigrants. He wanted for anything that celebrates the differences rather than the similarities. This is what we talked about before I did the film. And I said, what do you want the bugs to be? He said, all the things what I was quoting before, and I think that's very important.
What did he want the brain bug to be?
Well, it was a
Let's talk-
satire. When you have Doogie Howser putting his hand on the bug and going, "It's in pain," and everyone cheers. Do you want to know more? Handing guns to children. It's kind of a very heavy political statement. Paul expected that film to be very, very big in the United States. It wasn't. It wasn't. We had questions during, I remember during our press tour, they would ask me, why would you make a right-wing Nazi picture? What? You know, over in Europe, you guys got it. You all got that kind of, you know, that tongue-in-cheek Nazi kind of right-wing fascist bullshit, you know, and the United States was slow to catch up on that.
Yeah, but
they're catching up now after having the Great Pumpkin there for the last 6 or 8 years. You know?
They're catching up now. You know, when I did the press tour and I was over in Courmayeur, Italy with Paul, one of the foreign press tried to get me to do a Nazi salute. And I said, I'm not doing that. I go, my grandfather fought against the Nazis. I'm totally against this. And they go, well, that's what this film is. I go, then you didn't watch the movie. You didn't understand it. If you're thinking that this is a pro-fascist movie in any way, shape, or form, then you have no idea what you're talking
The
about.
bugs Paul wanted was any sign of prejudice, whether it's national, racial, political. He just wanted that, you know, the interaction between human beings where we treat other human beings like bugs. It might have been a little more sophisticated than most Americans could get, so I'm Canadian, I can say that.
Yeah, that makes sense because like they're all like equal in the movie, right? Like, oh, sorry, I'm not gonna. Never mind.
Okay, no, go ahead, take your time.
No, everybody's equal in this movie.
Like the humans are equal, and that's to like more like refine the
Species.
idea into against bugs specifically, not
Yeah.
not like into humans.
And
Do you know?
the fact that we needed everybody, because if you lose somebody, then you have less people fighting against the bugs. So it doesn't matter what anybody is. That's the unifier in Starship Troopers. That's why they were, you know, it didn't matter. We could have the co-ed showers. Didn't matter what we looked like or who we were or what anything about us. It didn't matter. We were all in it together against a common enemy. That part of it too.
It's also in Paul's nature to just want to cause trouble. He really does. He doesn't really take a political stance on anything. He wants people, when they leave the theater, to either argue or discuss what they just saw. He likes to cause a certain amount of dialogue about what he's done. If you've seen most of his films, you know, they all have that kind of, I don't know, thumb in your eye kind of feel about them. They force you to have a position. And anyway.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to the front right here.
Hey folks, how's it going? Nice
Hi.
to meet you. I love the movie, by the way.
You have
Thank you.
great taste.
I know. Thank you very much. I have a question for Michael, if you don't mind. I'm a big fan of the Splinter Cell video games. Go playing them, love those games. And I was wondering, could you give me your take on what's it like going back into that role? Because I believe there's a new one being announced.
Look, I got to tell you, I'm not a gamer. I'm not into violence. I don't like guns. I basically am a golfer and a gardener. And Splinter Cell was sent to me when I was doing a series on motorcycle, it was called Last Chapter in Canada. And they sent this thing to me, and the idea, and there was a lot of money involved, and I thought, you know, it's going to be like Pong, like beep, 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 beep. And all I got to do is do a narration over it. I said, sure, give me $250,000, I'll do that. And then they sent the script, and it was such a piece of shite. It was really bad, because you got all these technodroid guys, you know, these geeks. I know they say Geekland here, but I mean, these are real, you know, guys with little plastic holders and all the pens in them and stuff. That was Ubisoft. The 5 owners were like, they'd never been out in the sunlight, you know. And I said, I can't do this. It's crap. And they said, well, could you help us with it? So video games are like 85% technology, and it's about 15 or 20% story. So they let me rework the story. We sat down and rewrote the story. Let me cast it with people that I knew in Canada at the time. They allowed us to rehearse for 2 days before the game so we could have some kind of camaraderie and stuff and some continuity in it. And I think it worked, you know. And to create a character who can't give affection or accept affection was the whole purpose of that. You know, it was to create, you know, with Sam Fisher, it was, you know, we already knew if the game was successful, it was, we were going to, in the second or third game, we were going to have his family killed. You know, so there was a lot of pressure on that, you know, and it was also the first interactive game that had ever been done. So I didn't think it would be successful, you know, because when you're really doing these things, if you've done them, you're standing in a bloody 4x4 glass booth voicing stuff, you know, and then they go off and match it up with animation later on. But when I did that for, by the way, anyone know what Ubisoft stands for in Parisian slang? Does anyone remember a play by by Alfred Jarry? Yeah, of course you would. It was from 1947, called Ubu Roy, King Turd. Ubisoft means soft shit. You know, like, hey, that's some really soft shit you got there. So the original owners, 5 of them, had a floor and a half in a factory on Saint Laurent Boulevard in Montreal. After the first game, they bought the building. That's how successful it was. After the second game, they bought the building beside it. You know, so it was like 14 floors of nothing but their technology. And on the third game, they bought another building up in Toronto and put another building up in Los Angeles and San Francisco. 4 of the owners ended up retiring and living on islands in the Singapore archipelago somewhere. The one guy that stayed, his name's Stefan, and he's a wonderful, wonderful creative guy. He's pretty well responsible for all the stuff that's going on there now. But I did not know it was going to be what it was. I had no idea what gaming is. I still don't play video games. You know, I like things that cause dialogue between people. Anything that locks you away in a room by yourself, you know. I mean, there's a whole 12-step program now for video games. You know, it sounds funny, but people have lost the ability to communicate with each other. You know, just sit off there and jerk off in front of a screen. You know, it's like seriously. You know, oh, you laugh now. You'll probably rush off to the hotel and watch Pornhub or something.
Hey,
but
what I do in my spare time is none of your business.
no, I wasn't talking about. I was talking about the asshole behind you back there with 6 rows.
Sorry, I'm not shy. But listen, don't you hold back, okay?
No. No, I'm serious about that. It was like I did not have any idea the impact that game was going to have.
So do you regret doing it then, or?
No, not at all. I met some really good friends on that, you know.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry,
Thank you.
we've got a queue coming up, so I have to jump in.
I apologize if my language or anything I'm doing offends anybody. I don't have a good memory. So I can't lie. So I have a tendency to just tell the truth. It's the best way, I think.
That's okay. You're with Irish people. We're not easily offended.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Do we have a question down the back here? Oh no, just people standing next to the mic. Grant, we're going over here.
My question, similar to the last, is for Michael. Is there anything that you would want to do more, or you weren't able to do with the character of Sam Fisher that you wanted to do, or like, are you fully satisfied with the arcs that you were able to do as him while voicing him?
Absolutely. There was no way I could. By the time I did by the time the 6th script came, there's no way I could do the physical animation. You know, for Christ's sakes, I'm 74 years old. You know, and Sam's supposed to be in his mid-30s, early 40s. And the fellow we handed it off to, the actor, made an absolute piece of shit out of it. He did a horrible job. Not the fellow that's here now. There's another fellow that took over after him. But I actually recommended this fellow for the part. He didn't know that because I knew his mother. I actually held him in my arms when his mother was an actress in Canada. And he was a bit of an arrogant little prick. He didn't know what to do. And he ran the game into the ground. The 6th game actually landed on its face. Boom. I'll tell you what, though. Netflix bought it from Ubisoft. They've done an anime kind of series with it that is supposed to be out, I think, late this fall or early spring. And they've done a 6-part miniseries that was shot in South Africa during the pandemic. And Liev Schreiber's playing Sam. And I think that's a fantastic choice. You know, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. But no, I pretty well did what I wanted to do on that. I would have liked another check, of course, but they were very, very fair with their money, you know. But thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've got time for one question here, and then I was actually given a question from a fan earlier on today as well. So here you go.
Hi, Regina. What was it like working on Birds of Prey?
What was it like working on it? It was great. It was again, like, you know, wonderful to be a part of the DC family, playing such an iconic character as Batgirl and Oracle, of course, Barbara Gordon. I think one of the most challenging things for me was I'm actually like I like being physical in like most of my role. In my roles, I'm just a physical person. I like to kick. I like to jump. I like to do all those, like, shoot bugs. I like to fight. I like to just do lots of physical things. So for me to be stuck in a wheelchair at the time, I was excited to play her because in the comics, she's badass. I mean, she's in a wheelchair, but she's strong and she's tough and she's got her eskrima sticks. And I really was looking forward to, being a badass character in the wheelchair. But then the production, they're like, yeah, so we're not going to give you like the regular kind in the comics. We're going to give you this really cool, like, far out, modern, blue light, and all you have to do is like, push a remote control and you're, this is really, like, I'm not going to be using my arms. I'm not going to, no, you're just going to, this is going to look cooler. It's like really high tech. And so for me, being in that chair and you have to hit marks for lighting. Everything is very precise with the filming and TV, and because you have lights and marks, and you want to be in focus, and you want to be in your light. So with this thing, I was high up in the chair, and I couldn't see the marks on the floor. So it was very challenging in that regard. But to play this part was very special for me. And the fact that Batgirl was, shot by the Joker, for those of you, the DC fans, she was shot, paralyzed. And although, she wasn't able to fight crime as Batgirl anymore, she kind of reinvented herself as Oracle and became even stronger. And it was pretty awesome to play that. She didn't let her disability bring her down. She actually was stronger.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We only have time for one more question, I'm afraid, so we're going to go over here.
Thank you. Hear how about protecting your art and your brand.
You're going to have to do it more into the mic.
I'd like to hear how you're going to protect your art and your brand in light of the rise of AI.
Is that a general question for all of us?
Yeah, for the panel.
Look, I've been sent 3 scripts that are AI generated in the last year, and they're all pieces of shit. And I mean this seriously. A machine can imitate something, but when it comes to understanding emotion or something like that, it's just not going to do it. They really are. It's almost like, I don't know, it's like, do you know how you remember paint by numbers? Do you remember where you used to buy it and you painted them, stuff like that, and you look at it when it's all over? It kind of looks like art. That's what AI is like. It really is. It's kind of like the things they create is kind of like paint by numbers. Humanities and the nature of humanity and the spiritual idea of a human being, they're unpredictable. Machines aren't. And I'm telling you, I've had 4 scripts. One's a treatment. They're all really kind of like, oh my God, this is so bloody boring. It's so predictable. You can see the patterns in it. It recognizes patterns and stuff. I'm sure it'll get more sophisticated. I'm sure it'll help those guys that sit in the nude and play with their games at night and stuff. Hey, I was actually talking to the guy beside you with all the hair. Yeah.
Well, it's soulless.
But you know what I'm saying? It's not going to be able to imitate life. Nothing takes the place of the unpredictability of emotions and humanity, and the spirit of a human being. It's. I think we're kind of seeing that in the Ukraine right now. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Does anyone else want to say something about that?
I'll just say what he said. I'm with him. Agreed. It's soulless.
It's nothing to be afraid of. It really isn't. I did one project just recently where they used it for all the background lighting and all the background stuff. Excuse me, you who asked me the question. Are you in that industry? Are you part of the AI industry?
Should we be worried?
Good. Yeah, you can throw shit at him if he is, but no, it's great. There's a couple of projects that was used for filling in the background. Projects that the budget's going to be $17 or $18 million, and they've only got $4 million. They can invest $2 million in AI, and you're going to have all the background and the scenery and a lot of the industrial stuff and all that's usually done by blue screen or green screen, done by AI, and it's done superbly. But when it comes to emotions and human spirit, a machine's never going to be able to recreate that. And I can say that with all the confidence in the world. I'm not threatened by it, I'm not, How could it be threatened by a machine?
And as far as it taking over, our personal selves as a thing, good luck. I mean, I'm screwed up enough as a human being, and let it try to be that screwed up individually, and try to go through all the life experiences I've had. And I think it's like Michael said, it's that human emotion, and also everything we've gone through. You can kind of feed that into it and go, this is what it was, but they wouldn't know how to really feel it. So good luck. I'm tortured enough as it is.
Every time technology takes a huge leap in humanity gets involved. I mean, we can all be Luddites, Do you know what Luddite is? They were the ones that hated machinery. They were actually Dutch. They called them Luddites. If you're a Luddite, you're somebody who doesn't like technology. You're somebody that fucks up the machinery. They used to take their wooden shoes and throw them into the machinery and screw up the machinery because they didn't want it to affect their agrarian culture or their stuff. Machinery's always been a threat to humanity. Like automobiles, it'll be the death of humanity. It takes a human to, it doesn't matter what vehicle you're in. It's always going to take a human being inside it to get it to go somewhere that's important. Otherwise, it's just going to go around in circles. If that makes any sense to you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, tell
it's
that
not
to
the
Skynet.
buildings. It's what's in the buildings. You can't replace human spirit with a machine. You just can't, no matter how complicated it gets.
Yep.
It's nothing to be afraid of. It should be embraced.
Yep.
The big thing you got to be careful of is the assholes out there that'll try and use it to take advantage of you, to profit and prostitute you. God, I'm sounding like an evangelist.
To propaganda
person there.
hate on
absolutely.
that part of it is because they can target different sides of the coin or whatever and try to enhance the hatred on both sides and just make people think that in general I think people are kind, and I don't know if a machine could also be kind in that way. You can be programmed to be, but you wouldn't have it. So I think I don't know if it could ever replace us in that way.
I know a few people. It's the nature of what I've done for a living that I know a few people that are in NORAD and some of the larger, and they are not interested in having any kind of computer program running any of the defense net mechanisms for North America or Europe. They're just not. They do not. So the big question about AI being able to start a third world war, it's not. Everyone's aware of that. They're absolutely aware of that. It's good for science fiction. It's good for stories. In reality, it doesn't work. Hitler proved that.
It's good for a story unless it's written by AI. Then it's going to be shit.
Very true. And on that note, folks, please put your hands together for
I
Dina
have a
Meyer,
opinion.
Thank you,
Casa
guys.
Brandine, Denise Richards, and
Thank
Michael
you all.
Ironside.
Thank you.
Yeah, come see us.
They're going to be back on the stage tomorrow for anybody else who's going to be here tomorrow as well. But for now, thanks very much. We'll be back.
bit louder. Okay, no, that's too much. Just bring it down a little bit. How's everyone doing? Nice big group at the back there. How are you all getting on? Can't hear you. Good. Are they bunny ears? Bear ears? Wolf ears? I got it completely wrong. I'm sorry. What's the costume? Hermione. No. Yeah, sorry, you're expelled. I'm sorry, you're expelled. You're expelled. So Hermione, when she turned into something else. Hope you're not drinking potions. Mom and Dad, now come on. None of that. Okay, so how's everyone doing? Is everyone enjoying themselves? Did your dad buy you anything yet? Well, listen, I told them when they came in they have at least €100 to give you, so you make sure that they spend 100.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is a lot of the stuff like the cathedral and because there's loads of those, you tend to see a lot of dead bodies there. There's the crypts and heads and people pickled and stuff like that.
I am so disappointed that St. Mickens, anybody know? Mikens was closed on Friday, and I am so disappointed. I am so disappointed. St. Mickens was closed on Friday.
mean, I'm always looking for the magic bullet for anything, whether it's the performances themselves or the hardest part really is learning lines, right? So some people, they have this memory where they can read a script once or twice and then it's in their head, where it's never been that way for me. So yeah, if anybody here has any magic bullets for how to do that.
What would I know from learning lines, what would be your technique? It's just constantly reading, constantly up until the point you're out there, or?
Yeah, it's evolved. And sometimes something that's very well written will stick to you more. Sometimes I've read scripts where I realize that the person that wrote it has never said it out loud. You can feel it, it's just clunky or it just doesn't work right. So those are easier to learn, but depending on your mindset that day or whatever like that, because we have to audition a lot, and in Canada, we would have to be off book, which means you have to know them down by like pat the next day. Whereas in LA, you can do a cold read. We get shafted in Canada for that, but
I'm assuming you prefer to be able to have the script in front of you to perform rather than, I know it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, when you're in Canada, historically before COVID and that, we would have to have the script, no script. So if you got 10 pages of dialogue, you would have to not only know your lines and stuff, you'd have to be the serial killer or whatever it is, and do it confidently. It's really like it's a different world. When I first went to LA, I couldn't believe it. They're telling me to bring your script and basically read it. So.
So at the start, how did you find getting different roles? Was it difficult for you, or did you kind of get into it fairly quickly?
No, I mean, I was lucky to start working, but it took me a long time to get more substantial roles. I was sort of the, dangerous man on balcony number 4 and things like that for a long time. So, and then I think what you call a principal role, which was more than 6 lines. I landed a show called Suits. Did anybody see that? So I was excited to get that. I was like maybe 15 lines, and then they started to come in after that. Sometimes it can be a slow build, but I was learning all the time as well.
So nowadays, you're obviously still auditioning for various different roles.
Yeah.
Has your technique changed?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much different now because I love it, because after COVID, everything went to self-tape. So I can cheat the room. If I need, I can put my lines up somewhere, so as opposed to some people that are angry that you're forgetting your lines. I can give them the best take. I can do 50 takes if I want, but generally I usually take the first or second. It's usually where it feels the most natural. After a while, you start overthinking things.
And you just mentioned COVID there. Obviously, the world shut down during that year or two of just craziness. How did you deal with that?
Oh, the same as everybody. Went crazy.